Axia will begin the session now.
Yes, sir. Kindly go with the welcome address. I'll be doing the intro.
No. Definitely.
Good evening, Kay.
Kay, sir, your mic is muted.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. Unmuted. Axia can go for recording.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good
Recording
evening.
in process, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Dr. Suresh. Good evening, Sumiti.
Very good evening, one and all. I'm happy to welcome all the participants and today's speaker for webinar session on NLP techniques for counseling. Today is our 257th webinar session. I would like to quote here, when we were beginning this session, we never had an idea to reach these many webinar sessions. With the support of participants and the well-wishers over here, we reached here in 257th webinar session. And today with us, Dr. Sumati Narayanan ma'am. She is well-known in NLP. As per my knowledge, I have received from Mr. Krishnan sir. He told me that she is the one, along with Aravambun sir, who took training from that, the founder of NLP. So, and rightly, ma'am, Sumati ma'am is Creative Communication and Management Center. She is the founder of that from Chennai. I wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am, for the webinar session on behalf of the Department of Psychology, American College, Madurai, and our co-associating institutions like M.H. Chellamuthu Institute, Madurai, Madras School Association of Chennai, and Red Pond Education Psychological Association, Psycho-Oncological Association, Turkey, and our core team members. I welcome you, the today's speaker, Dr. Sumati Narayanan, and all the participants and our former expert members, all of you, and wholeheartedly welcome each one of you for this today's webinar session. Axia, over to you for introducing the speaker.
Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Suresh Kumar, sir. Myself, Akshay Lakshmi from the core team. I'm really glad to introduce the speaker for the. She's one of the two people from Tamil Nadu who attended training by Richard Bandler, the co-creator of NLP. And a few more information about her. She has Human Development, Department of Psychology, University of Madras, certified NLP practitioner and platinum master trainer under NLP, USA for basic master practitioner and trainer certification program. And there are a lot of other information. And she has been awarded the Best Senior Faculty Award thrice by the Elite School of Optometry, Lifetime Professional Excellence Award by the alumni of SIET Women's College, Lifetime of Achievement and Services to Elite School of Optometry by ESO, unit of Shankara Netralaya Medical Research Foundation, and Women Achiever in Training and Communication by Rajalakshmi Institutions. And she is the member. She has a member for the following. She has a life member for ISTD, founder member of PA Study Circle, past secretary Chennai Counselors Foundation, founder secretary Indian Academy of Professional Supervisors. And with such great educational background and such a great experience in the field of NLP, we are really glad to have Dr. Sumati Narayanan ma'am for our session today. I'm really eager to learn a lot from you, ma'am. Thank you for being with us today. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ashlakshmi and Dr. Kumar. It's a pleasure for me to be here. It's amazing. You see, when you mentioned that you did not know that this is how this activity will develop, I can only say this: good intentions always collect over the years, and then many other people come and join the good intention, and that is how I have also come here to do a small contribution to the human effort that you are taking to reach mental health awareness to the general public as well as the professionals. Thank you very much, Krishnan, for inviting me, because but for him, I wouldn't be here. And I'm very happy to see some familiar faces, and also I hope to meet new faces, and I hope to get some questions in the end. Or if they want to post the questions, then I don't usually see the chat. Somebody should see it and then ask me if it is relating to what I'm talking about. I think I understand 45 minutes I need to speak and 15 minutes Q&A. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to shall I start sharing so that we get into the
Yeah, ma'am.
yeah. How do I go to the slideshow mode? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Yeah. NLP for counselors is something that I hold very close to my heart because I did not think I will become an NLP trainer when I underwent training with Dr. Richard Bandler in 1997. I thought, okay, this is one more tool because I was heavily into transaction analysis and I did not know the magic of NLP when I learned it first, but then it kind of got into me because I learned so much of nuances in the field, and then when I eventually decided to become a trainer, I learned much more. It has immensely helped me personally as well as professionally in all my training programs, in all my steps that I have taken to develop myself as a professional. So I'm very delighted that today I have the opportunity to share in a very allied forum where there are a lot of counselors and mental health professionals. So easily and naturally, I say, because it did not come from books. This theory came from life, from observing therapists. So the birth of NLP was from therapists. So who are they and how it went about probably has been addressed earlier by my co-trainer, Mr. Aramadam, but I'll repeat it because I do not know how many of you were there in the previous session. That was a few months back. So I like to start this day. Sorry. I like to start my talk with these beautiful pictures which were taken through a surveillance camera. And the story about it is, this is somewhere in Assam. A person bought a cow from a far off village and kept it in his cow house. In the night, he heard dogs barking. And that due to lockdown, something was amiss. He got the CCTV cameras installed and was surprised to see that the leopard visited every night and sat near the cow. He inquired from the previous owner and was informed that the mother leopard. All right.
Sorry, ma'am, I will mute the participants.
Thank you. He was informed that the mother of this leopard was killed when the cub was only 20 days old. And the life of the cub was saved as the cow fed him her milk. When the cub grew up, he was left in the jungle. To repay the cow, the fully grown leopard comes every night and spends time. We can learn a lot from this story of the unconditional love an animal can bestow. This touched my heart because if you look at this image here, it's an amazing one because that just shows how love can be unconditional. With this background information on unconditional love, I'd like to share the session. Exactly what this is about. Can you control that? It is really disturbing, please. Thank you. Brief overview, and then NLP as a counseling and therapy tool, NLP principles and processes that counselors can use, questions that have been, and then any other questions that may arise. So when you look at unconditional positive regard, this is very important as counselors for us. This is what is the first message given, which is we need to have unconditional positive regard for our clients. We need to experience, have and express empathy, and there has to be a congruence on what we are saying. We cannot think one thing and say another thing. That incongruence can actually breach trust. So these are the fundamental basic things that are required for a counselor. And this is what all of us who are practicing as counselors aspire to have with each and every client, because it is a challenge to maintain it with the same client and develop it with the new clients. And when there is a challenge, we need to remind ourselves about the unconditional positive regard and unconditional love. So let us look at the originators, how it began. It's very interesting that NLP started from observing therapists. So there was this Dr. Richard Bandler and Frank Kusilik, who were in California University, who were one of them was asked to transcribe the sessions of the Gestalt therapist Fritz Perls. All of us know Gestalt therapy was by Fritz Perls. In the process, Dr. Richard Bandler and Frank Kusilik taught this program to others, but they were not able to teach them very well. They could do it, but they could not transfer that ability to them. In that point, they brought in John Grinder, who was a linguist, and he said, if you can show me, if you can teach me, I will show you how you do it. So then they went about analyzing, and in the meanwhile, he got an opportunity to tape Dr. Virginia Satir, who was then the doyen of family therapists, her sessions, and then he realized when they saw the transcription that the way they use language, which is the powerful tool they use in order to change people's minds, had certain patterns. And then they analyzed and they took back the patterns to the two therapists, and they were surprised that they were using some patterns. They were aware of a few, but they were not aware of all the patterns. That is how neuro-linguistic programming was born, more from the language. And later on, Dr. Gregory Bateson, who was their mentor, asked them to go and look at how Dr. Milton Erickson, who was then a hypnotherapist, how did he handle his clients, and then with all these combinations, neuro-linguistic programming was born. So what is special about this is the fundamental foundation of a neuro-linguistic program is in the concept of how we take in reality. When we take in reality, we do never get to see the actual reality, because what we have is our version of reality. And how does that happen? If you look at it, the world reality is only one thing, but we take in through our input channels, and this is your first filter. And we have the 5 physical senses, but we do not use all our senses equally well, nor do we use the 3 main ones, which is visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, equally well. And so there are individual differences in the way we filter that. Some of us take in more visually, some of us take in auditorily, and some of us kinesthetically. So today in our common parlance, we say I'm a visual learner, I'm an auditory learner. This is something that has come into vogue in the recent past. So once the input channels itself differ, whatever is taken in goes through the universal human modeling process, which is generalization, distortion, and deletion. I'm not going to explain these here, but this is something most of us are familiar with, because most of our problems comes at this phase where distortion and deletion happen and generalization also happens. So that's the second filter. And then whatever is there after that when we verbalize, words itself become a filter, because we can never express exactly what we feel or what we mean. To take a very ordinary example, when we ask somebody, what do you love as a fruit? And they say, oh, I love pineapple. So why do you like pineapple? Why do you love pineapple? And they'll say pineapple is like, and then they will search for words and they won't get the words. It is sour, it is sweet, it is, and then the words are inadequate. So when anybody expresses, the words themselves become, while they are helpful to be expressive, they are not exactly perfect in their expression. So all these 3 cannot be escaped. Like we cannot stop generalization because there are usefulness to it. There are distortions and deletions which are useful, but when we are not aware, it can actually be very, very unhelpful. So what happens in the end is we have our own version of reality, which becomes a map or model of reality. And the way we understand something becomes our map, and that's the only thing we see. We never see all these things behind it. So why is this important? So when people come to us with the problem, they're coming with their version of the problem. So it is through NLP, we can help them go backwards to see what is the information that they haven't received. What is the information that they may have distorted? Have they generalized from one experience? So these are the ways in which we can take, because if you look at it, this map, what we see is the surface structure, but what we have within us is the deep structure. So we help, through NLP processes and techniques, we help them go and retrieve what they may have distorted or deleted or generalized, and use, and that's the reason why we need to listen to their words so that we know what is the way they are representing it in their mind. So this is the foundation, and once we help them go inwards to know and retrieve more quality information, for which there are tools for us to do it, we will be able to help them get a better understanding of how they landed in the situation as they have. Again, when we deal in a counseling context, we are dealing with the memory of different events. In that memory, which is their version of reality, we are not actually, that is a representation of the actual event. So they may have missed a lot of points. And so when we help them to make a better understanding, we're giving them a choice of rethinking about themselves, about the situation that was already over, about which is still bothering them right now. So with that brief introduction, what is special about Command? I found this very magical. Why? Because the results are very fast. You see, the healing that I could not get for 10, 15 years of understanding what's troubling me, etc., I could instantly feel a relief. And I see this in all my clients when I give them simple processes from NLP to know that they need not be bothered about the past and worried about the future. Total acceptance of the client's model. You see the version of reality that I talked about? When somebody says, this is what I feel, this is what I go through, or this is the way I see it, we accept the model. This is what was the biggest strength of the three people, the founders of NLP model. Then predominantly content-free. Like, for example, usually one would ask, what went wrong? So who was there? What all happened? Those kind of questions we don't ask. So we say, okay, we don't say, okay, you're upset, let's talk about it. So we go to the how. So when you are upset, how do you make yourself upset, or something like that, which will help them to get in touch with, how do I know I'm depressed, for example? And then they will go into, I had this thought, and then they'll go into the physiology of it, their awareness about how they have a strategy for the way they are feeling low happens. So we help them realize that people have strategies of success and people have strategies of failure. When we help people realize that this is their own way of doing it, which they can change, NLP is about choices. The different processes and techniques for different issues. So you don't use one or two, there are several, which I'm going to explain as we go on, and results sustain over a period of the time because it is neurologically based. So it works at the neurological level. So now, what are the NLP concepts that this is, I'm not going to be elaborating this because we do have a lot of points to cover, but this is the fundamental points like the qualities of the excellent communicators are rapport, clear objectives, open senses, and flexibility. So these are taken from the communicators. In counseling, we are not medicating our patients. What are we using in order to help our clients is words, communication, listening, understanding, helping them to understand themselves in a different way. And that is thrilling. And so excellent communicators, we need to become excellent communicators. And for that, the fundamental skills are rapport building, clear objectives, open senses and flexibility. And then you have rapport all the time. There are different ways, as I have enlisted here, there are different 7 ways of building rapport. So either which way you can build a rapport. If you cannot do the content way, you can do the emotional way and you build on them. And this is crucial every moment of interacting with our clients from the beginning to the end of the session and even after. So for these, the steps are matching, mirroring, pacing, and leading. So we match them, help them, and then move towards the goal that they want during the therapy. And then eye accessing cues are the eye movements. Many of us do not know that there is a geography to it, or when people move their eyes, they're accessing their modalities of visual or auditory or kinesthetic. And according to what they are moving, we can understand where they're coming from. While we may not be able to understand the content, but we know that they are processing information in a certain way. And then you have submodalities. This is a very unique contribution of NLP. The submodalities are the finer details of each of the big modalities, which is the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. The thing is, the way the experience has a structure in our brain has details. And those details decide the impact or the strength of that experience. That becomes the structure of the experience. When we change the structure at the submodalities level, it changes the quality of that experience and thereby the impact. I wish I could do a demo here, but I cannot because I'm not able to see people and it is a little difficult and dicey. So this is a very unique part of it, and all the changes, like Dr. Richard Bandler says, any change that you want to make, do it in submodalities. And then presuppositions. This is the suppositions. It's like the founders say, you know, we are going to tell you certain things. If you believe them, it changes your life. If you don't believe them, nothing happens. So I'm going to elaborate that a little later. And then meta model, which is the 13 language patterns, the challenges. So what are the presuppositions? I'm going to give you a sample of it because there are many more, but the crucial ones are meet the client at their model of the world. This is very important. When it is not only client, when you are with somebody and they say a point, you say, oh, I see, this is what it is. It doesn't mean you agree. It just means you understand. So when you meet the client at their model of the world, then they will be like, oh, this is the way it is. I can give you historical stories about how meeting the client at their model of the world is very important. And for example, there was a person who believed he was Jesus Christ. Now, many of the clients who were not able to get treated by any other way were brought to Dr. Bandler as a last resort. So there was this person in a very violent behavior. Whenever anybody challenged him, he's not. Sorry. Sorry. So I'm sorry. When someone doesn't agree that he's not Jesus Christ, he would actually be very violent. So they had chained him and they had locked him up. So Bandler walked in. He doesn't know who Bandler is. He walked in with big, long pieces of wood, nail and hammer and inch tapes. And then he went in and the person who believed he's Jesus Christ, he said, what's happening? He was looking, and then Bandler just went up to him. He said, what's happening? He said, well, I've been given the contract to do a cross. Tomorrow is Good Friday. Not so good for you. Can you please stand up? Let me measure you because I need to make a cross to fit you. And then he made him stretch his hands and imagine measuring from this hand to the other hand to see how long the log should be. And he took his height. And then this fellow started saying, listen. He said, no, don't disturb me. I need to finish this before the lunchtime and I need to go. Because you're Jesus Christ, I need to help you get on the cross tomorrow. And then I believe he said, look, I want to tell you something I haven't told anybody. He said, what is the secret? And then he said, I'm not Jesus Christ. And then therapy was over. He had his own reasons to pretend that. So it's a classic example of it by Dr. Bandler. And then the map is not the territory, but the map is not the territory, meaning all of us know the map is never the territory because when the territory changes, map has to change. Our map is only a representation. All of us have a map in our mind, like this is how I am. For example, somebody says, I'm a shy person, that's a map. If somebody says, I'm a very confident person, that's a map. So what is your map? But that can change. So maps can change because if the territory changes, maps will definitely have to change. We need to update the map or change the map. Experience has a structure, as I explained earlier. Every experience has a structure. Once we understand how the structure is and change the structure, the experience changes. Underlying every behavior is a positive intention. This is a mind blower because when we see some very difficult behavior of human beings, and human beings are capable of anything, they are regarded as the most dangerous animal in the mother earth. So every behavior has a positive intention for that person. So when we look at the person's positive intention, we'll be less acrimonious, less judgmental, less angry about the person because then we understand where they're coming from. But then people are always making the best choice available to them. Looking at them, we feel they could have done it like this. No, they could have changed like this. No, why did the person have to do like this? When we look at them like this is the best that they could do in a given circumstance, then we'll be able to help to move them because that's part of their model of work. And people already have all the resources they need. This is a fabulous one because when we do our processes, we make people go and access their own resources, which is very empowering. Because the belief is you have the resource, come on, you can develop it further. It may not have been got expression as much as you need it. So allow the little bit that you have, enlarge it, and then utilize it now to make changes in your life and make better choices in your life. And then anyone can learn anything they want. This is what Richard Bandler and John Grinder did by modeling Dr. Milton Erickson about how he builds, how his therapy went. And so modeling excellence became the other one. So there are two things that we can say about NLP. NLP is about study of excellence. The second is the study of structure of experience. So the meta model that I talked about, it is just language pattern. People use certain shortcuts in their language, which they are not aware of. So by asking a few questions where there has been a violation, we call it a violation, the meta model questions help us to get better quality information. So it is useful for gathering information. For example, somebody says, I'm upset. It's a very common sentence. They don't specify about what are they upset. They assume that you know what they mean. Or they think, when I say I'm upset, the other person should know what they're upset. For example, a husband says, when I say I'm upset, my wife should understand about what I'm upset. I'm upset about. And the wife says, if I knew that, life would have been very different anyway. He also should know when I say I don't know, that I actually don't know. This is how the fight continues. So gather information. Second is identify the limits of an individual's model of the world. That becomes an expression of their model of the world. And where they are limited, we can ask questions and help them find out where their limitation is. Somebody says, for example, I can't make a presentation. Oh, what stops you? A simple question like, what stops you? They might say, actually, nothing stops me, but I saw one person and then the story will come. It's like they have taken somebody's experience, made it their experience, and made it a limiting experience. So then once that is pulled out through our questions, where we get better quality information, the limit is opened up. And then challenge an individual's limitation and provide an individual with more choices. Learn how to experience the world in a more open way. Ensure that you're in rapport before you ask the questions. Because when we ask these questions, it can actually sound very crude or rude. And then, so we need to watch our tonality, establish rapport, and then ask questions. So these are a simple list of the meta model in 3 areas of deletions, distortions, and generalizations. And these are simple deletion, comparative deletion, and these: lack of referential index, unspecified verbs, nominalization, mind reading, loss of performance, cause and effect, complex equivalence, presuppositions, universal quantifiers, modal operators of necessity, and of possibility. Now, what these are, we take it up in our basic module, so you know how to use them in our ordinary conversations, where we can have extraordinary results in our counseling conversations. So what are the NLP processes? Rewind. These are the techniques. This is extremely useful to deal when we want to not let a past event disturb. Some of us, whenever I think about it, I feel. See, before I go into this, I just want to mention here, what is the problem with which people come to us? Either predominantly it is about something that has already happened, about which they are upset, or they're feeling lost, or something about anxious about future, which they believe they cannot because of the past experience. So what does NLP do? NLP techniques and processes helps the individual reprogram their past and program their future the way they want. That is the reason why one of the important questions we ask people is, what do you want? You ask this question to anybody and they'll say, I don't want to be disturbed. I understand you don't want to be disturbed, but what do you want? Is a question you ask, then they will look, something they won't have thought about it. So one thing which becomes like a sudden break in their expression is, tell me what you want today, now. And then they will start thinking, actually, what do they want? So then they will realize they have habits of being trapped in the past. And so some of the processes are for the past, reprogramming the past and not allowing the past to limit us today. The past need not limit us. It can be information that something didn't work. But that's another major presupposition of NLP, which is there is no failure, only feedback. Now, when you look at it, and in the past, there are some things that are traumatic, some things that are medium, some things that are intense. So there are different degrees of programming, that reprogramming that we can do. So rewind is something that we could use for mild to moderate processes, and it is also used for phobia cure. So this process utilizes the neural network. In fact, everything uses for neural network. Again, why this works. Neuroscience has proof now that when we change the way the neural network is for a particular experience, it changes the quality of the experience. And that is what with NLP we do. With rewinding, for example, we scramble the neural network so we don't go and access the same feelings. None of us can erase our memories. That's impossible. But what we can disconnect is the way it impacts us today. So in this process, what we do is we scramble the network so that the feeling is cut, though we remember it. So that it doesn't impact us. The second is anchoring, which is a method by which you could have access to your most resourceful state in order for you to use it in the future. Also, we all have negative anchors about whenever that happens, you get reminded of something very sad or bad or scared or something that upset. So anchoring is something that you could use in order to reprogram the past by a process called collapsing the anchors. And we can create new anchors in order for us to be in a resourceful state or a confident state or anything that you want to utilize more often. Like somebody says, I want to be creative in my field. They can create an anchor so they can access creativity whenever they want. Anchor is like a shortcut to the different network in our different states in our past experience. So anchoring and the changing personal history. This is a very beautiful process. Sometimes we see, I wish I had handled that a little differently. Then we can use this process to go and access that and then take a program about how you would have handled if you had that ability. For example, somebody says, I wish I could respond to my boss when he's asking me a question assertively. So then, we and the person feels bad, he could not do it. So then when we teach them this method, they can take the assertiveness to the old event, they can relive that experience in a new way when they are able to have this access to this resource in that state. So it changes the past in a way that doesn't affect them, and then we future pace it. That's a very common term we use, future pacing. So if in the same way you continue in the future, how would you do it? So then reparenting, this is a very healing one where many of us wish our parents had handled us differently or had not taken some decisions in our life which impacted us. And many people end up being angry with their parents, not having good relationship with their parents. But this process helps them to reparent in a way that will help them to understand the situation of their parents and not be angry today about something that has happened long back. Because the parents also would have gone leaving this world, but the anger will remain. And that actually ruins today. And then changing submodalities, which is a very powerful way of changing the quality of an experience in a way that we want. So something that is weak, like for example, it is very useful for changing belief systems. When you want to make a belief system strong, you could use it. Like it is extremely useful for students to develop confidence in many subjects, in anybody to change any belief that they have about something. The circle of excellence is a beautiful futuristic tool. So what we do is ask the person to think about an excellent state they already had, anchor it in certain ways in today, and then use it and create a circle of excellence so they can surround themselves in that, be in that excellent state, and whenever they want that state to be available in a current situation or in the future situation. And then SWISH is for habits and addiction, especially smoking or anger or shopping addiction. Today, I think online shopping could have become an addiction for many people. But SWISH is something that is useful for any change in addiction. And then visual squash is when we have a dual mind. I want this and I want that. People are confused. I don't know what to do. And this helps them to bring about something to do, which will have the belief again here is when you like two things, both have a positive intention for you. In fact, none of the processes say any experience is bad. Every experience has a positive intention, including habits, including anything that we want. So that there is some satisfaction happening there. And so when we look at it positively, two contradicting ones both have positive intention. We merge it and make it into a third one which has the positive intention of both these conflicting interests. Then we have Godiva chocolate, which is to develop interest in something that is inherently boring. How do we change that? New behavior generator is on modeling. When we want to become like somebody, we see somebody and say, wow, I wish I could have that quality. I mean, you can't become like somebody, but you can pick up a quality from them and make it your own, and you'll have your own version of that quality. So this is a very long process. This is one of the pillars of NLP, where it is modeling. And here, this can help us develop qualities that we want to. And this is where the principle anyone can develop anything comes. If A can do it, we can learn how A does it and then do it. And then quick new behavior generator uses eye movements in order to generate a quick behavior. It's very fun. It's a fun activity, but very powerful and useful. And the reframing, this is like, when we look at the way we look at something is what affects us. But when we change the way we look at it, when we change the frame of something, it changes the way we look at it, it changes the way it impacts us. So reframing has both content and context, which can be learned. And 6-step reframing is again a slightly elaborate process by which we look at something that is affecting us, look at the positive intentions, and then we look at options of fulfilling those positive intentions in a different way, in a creative way. Unstoppable confidence is something that we can use in order to build somebody's confidence instantly and immediately in less than 5 minutes. Fast phobia cure is a 7-minute process. In fact, it's an interesting story is usually desensitization, and those processes take a long time for any phobia to be cured. But fast phobia cure is something that Richard Bandler very quickly constructed, because John Grinder put him in a situation. He said, Bandler is going to do it, and then he instantly brought this process where he used several of the combinations of the process, like double dissociation and rewinding, etc., and all that. And then this fast phobia cure has helped a lot of people to overcome their fears. Building self-appreciation and love. We love people, but we don't love ourselves as much as we can. And this process helps us to develop self-appreciation and love, developing self-confidence about how do we develop know into the components of that and then develop them, handling self-criticism, especially when people criticize, how do you handle that so that you don't feel put down. And then timeline is something, it's a very, very powerful concept in NLP, where we reprogram our past and the timeline, we reprogram our future on the timeline, and then we set our goals. It's very useful for goal setting. It is useful for treatment of guilt or overcoming guilt, and for that timeline is used. This is not the Facebook timeline, please. This is timeline of the past and the future. Grief process, how do we overcome grief in our life? Where some people get stuck on that and they're never be able to be happy after that, and so that helps. And then allergy technique. These are the last few are taught only in the Master Practitioner program. When somebody has an allergy, and they can be helped to overcome the allergy using NLP process. And then logical levels is something that is a deeper process, where we use different levels in order to make changes at the higher level, so that the lower levels are taken care of in the hierarchy of neurological levels. This is from Robert Dilts, and this is based on Gregory Bateson's neurological, ecological levels. So these are the different techniques, and the language patterns is the most elaborate one, where you have Milton model, you have meta model, you have many other models, language patterns, where you can, after a point, it is not just about the techniques. Before the techniques, you can use the language patterns in order to help them move towards making. Then using the technique is a magical moment of a few minutes, and then the person can have change the way they look at themselves and their situation. So to conclude, rapport from beginning to conclusion. In counseling sessions, we never know when a rapport is broken. If we don't sense it, we lose it. So we need to sense, am I in rapport all the time? And if I'm not, immediately use one of the rapport building techniques or steps to build the rapport. And to build rapport, we need to be in a resourceful state, meaning we need to be confident, we need to be optimistic. We cannot take the client to a positive state unless we are in that state. It's like making a child sleep. If we are not relaxed, we cannot sleep. And similarly, when we are not confident, we cannot build confidence in our clients. So rapport from the beginning to conclusion, strive towards any positive action they want, or that increases awareness. So any small bit also make it big and say, wow, now you became aware of this. You see now, and that is how you lead them towards better awareness. And then you have emphasized that they have choices. Ask them, have you thought about it? Would you like to? Invite them to do it. And then they will realize that they thought they don't have a choice about it. Very often you hear people say this, there was no choice. There was no choice. Now, then maybe there was no choice. But now, do you have a choice? Then what happens? People start thinking a little differently. So we do not have limitations because we don't have enough choices, but the kind of way we are looking at it is a very limited look. And that's the reason why people suffer. And awareness of power to choose. Very often people think they are powerless. They are victims. They do not know how to come out of it because they don't think there is a choice outwards. Then when we explain that when you change the way you look at your own situation, your relationships, and then when they work, I know of one of my participants whose wife had got estranged. He used every NLP technique that he learned as a basic practitioner, got his wife and child back after a gap of 3 years, working towards improving the relationship with not only her in-laws and everyone. And today he is a lot together with all the elders and them together. I know this can work because this makes magical changes in people's lives. So awareness of the power to choose, sustainability. When you change something, it doesn't mean every day you need to do it. Many of these changes are permanent. So that really helps. And space out the sessions to follow up. We need to give time to integrate for people to see how they are believing, they are working in the change. Even though we may change, the external circumstances, the triggers may not change. So they may revert back to the old behavior, which is called rubber banding. So we need to prepare them for it and in a follow-up, we can catch, and until they get the results they want, we don't give them. If this technique doesn't work, it's okay, use another. Until we get the result. And I want to caution here, NLP is not the only tool. We have one mind, several problems, and NLP is one of the most recent technologically advanced tools that we can use in order to help an individual. That doesn't mean other tools are not good enough. Every tool is intended to help the client make their life happier. And that way, when you follow up with your clients, it's very important to give them the time to integrate the new behavior. So put things in place so that they will be able to reinforce it with activities. And then remember, rapport. Because when there is no rapport, communication breaks down. If communication breaks down, trust breaks down. If trust breaks down, your clients will not come back. So entry point to exit point, rapport. From the first message or the telephone call, the rapport building starts. And not only rapport, in order to help our clients, when we are able to build rapport with anyone and everyone as much as possible when we are interacting with them, rapport building becomes second nature. Then it is easy to help our clients towards the goal that they want and they have. So thank you very much. I'm happy that I completed it on time, and so I'm open to questions. Do you want me to stop sharing, Veena?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
You're echoing.
Yes. Once you, a little bit of network issues are there here at my side. So that was an excellent presentation, ma'am, and very happy listening to you.
Thank you.
Yes. Ma'am, I'll hand over the question and answer session to Ekta, one of the core team members.
Okay.
Yes. Ekta?
Yes.
Hi, Ekta.
Good evening. What
Good
a
evening.
lovely presentation, ma'am. Such a detailed understanding of such somehow very technical concepts, but very easily understandable is what I can tell you, ma'am. Thank you so
Fun.
much.
I'm thrilled. I'm so happy to hear that, Ekta.
We are open to questions. So participants, I request you to please unmute yourself, or you can also message your questions in the chat box and we will read it out for you in forum today. So we are open to questions. Please unmute yourself and ask the questions to us.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, please go
Good
ahead.
evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Yeah. Yes, Anusha.
Yes. I've heard a lot of things about NLP, but I haven't ever seen anyone practicing in reality. I meant like I haven't met anyone who's been practicing. I would love to know still what because like I've read few articles that says like it has been outdated and all this. Is that true or is that just myth, ma'am?
See, it's like this. Adlerian psychology is still active in different forms, right? Adlerian was the father, and that's 100 years back. Any good concept takes time. In the 1960s, transactional analysis started, NLP started, and these, when you ask me why NLP is not being practiced, that's because there was a 10-year delay in it coming to the field as a therapy tool. Not much of research went into it, and that is the reason why it took time for people to realize its value. But it is Tony Robbins who made it popular, and it became popular in the non-therapeutic sector. So people thought it is only a psychology and it is not a therapy tool. It started from the therapist, but then it is now coming to the therapist because now we have proof that NLP processes work because neuroscience gives us the backing. Now, many of, like for example, fast phobia cure has been scientifically established as a very potent tool for overcoming phobia. Now there is research backing for it. Now a lot of research, a lot of groups are doing research are being published. I'm able to hear my own echo. Why is that? Okay, now it's better. So then if you ask me, it is not outmoded. On the other hand, neuroscience, it has become more popular. It is becoming a powerful tool and many people don't realize until they start using it. It is not just about a communication tool, it is a therapy tool, like because there are so many cases recorded about how it is being used for therapy work with clients who have even trauma. So it is not outmoded. Now only it is becoming actually a powerful tool. A lot of publications have come out on this. Does that answer your question,
Happy evening.
Anush?
Yes,
Happy
ma'am.
evening,
Thank you.
Suki, ma'am.
Good evening, Parashurama. Yes.
So highly refreshing and therapy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Krishnan?
Yeah, as you said, I've been using VKD, Swish, NBG, anchoring. See, all these things, very common things which we can use in our practice. Very effective. Because,
Thank you.
see, and the thing is, NLP mostly promoted for career development and those kind of things. That's what I've been observing. So in the therapeutic thing, it is not popular. So that may be the cause. But in my practice, I use all these.
Because we cannot talk about. Vidya Prabha. There is an echo. I'm not able to hear.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, Vidya.
Ma'am, I have two questions, ma'am. First one is usage of affirmations. Is it a part of NLP, ma'am? So that is one question. The second one is
No, it's not.
It's not. Okay, ma'am. So
It's not. Affirmations are something that is only language. Again, it is a language, but as a language pattern, affirmation is not one of them. But it is every statement that we use in order for us to help somebody is affirmative in its language. That way it is. But when we say affirmations per se, it is Louis Hay's approach to affirmations, which is more popular. I'm not saying she is a source of it, because if you look at any source, positive statements are there even in our own scripture. So,
okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. The next question is, in a couple, we take a couple marital relationship problems there, where the husband is abusive. So abusive, when I say, yes, sexual abuse is there, physical, emotional, whatever, everything I can say. But major is a sexual abuse. As a husband also, right? So a 10 years a wife is facing this. Of this 10 years, 8 years, okay, she was very patient and was trying to bear it.
1 minute, yeah. Vidya, 1 minute. We cannot take individual cases without the client's permission here in an open forum
Okay,
like this.
I can say it is me.
So that,
If I can say it is me, then can I?
no, even then, Vidya, we do not
Okay,
have.
fine. Then I'll put it general. That is a general because how? Okay, I don't
You,
know how
you
to put
could
the question.
you could ping me separately. You could ping me separately.
Okay, fine. Okay,
I would
sure.
definitely be able to help you then than taking up a case
You
like
just
this,
wanted to
openly
only
like this,
know.
because we do not have. Yeah.
You just only wanted to know, in case in abuse, because of that somebody is affected through NLP, can that person be brought out of that depression? That was my question.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay, fine. That is okay.
Yes.
Then I'll contact you. Thank you so much.
Sure. Sure. What is the future of NLP? The future of NLP is in the way it is being used with neuroscience. Why neuroscience? Because now we have equipments, we have technology to measure the neural changes. So I would say present and future is with NLP. So it will be used in many ways. Today I'm seeing NLP being used in schools which train their teachers to use the NLP language of programming the mind. See, we don't realize the impact of words in the mind. When we say words like, even a word like but, try, these have a negative connotation in some context. For example, somebody says, I'll try to do it. We studiously say, if you try, you will not succeed. But what about if you use the word, I will do it and see? That's much more positive than saying try. So every word has a neural center, and that's the reason why NLP belongs to the current and the future times, because we are becoming more and more aware of the power of the brain. So I just saw one question posted there. Yes.
Participants, we open for one last questions for the session today. If any of you have any question, one last question will be answered by our speaker today. You can please unmute yourself or you can ask in the chat box.
Ma'am, can you please elaborate on the 6-step reframing in a very...
Sorry? What?
6-step reframing. Can you please elaborate on that?
See, for example, somebody has, it can be used to change a behavior or even a health condition. The premise of NLP is it draws on the power of the unconscious mind. So we don't do anything unless and until we don't do anything unless there is an inner intention of the subconscious mind, which knows what is best for us. It may not be apparent to others, but the belief is the subconscious mind knows. It's a very benevolent and kind one that knows, is very resourceful and powerful. So when somebody is having a behavior, for example, somebody gets angry very fast, okay? He uses his aggression. He wants to change it. So we don't tell them that anger is wrong. We tell them your anger has a purpose, has a positive intention. So in the 6-step reframing, we access that positive intention and ask that part which is responsible for creating that behavior to creatively look for other options to fulfill whatever positive intention is. And then future pace it and check whether it is acceptable to all parts of the brain. This is in simple 6-step. I'm not going into 6 steps, but this is what is the essence of 6-step reframing, where we do not negate a behavior. In fact, I personally use it for my knee joint pain years back, and the options that come up will be not at all related to what we think are the solutions, common solutions which a conscious mind can think of. For example, for me, doing artwork was the solution that I got for overcoming my knee joint pain. I did, and it helped immensely to me. Now I do not have knee joint pain. So this anger, as I explained to you earlier, the person, instead of being told, why don't you count till 10? Why don't you take some stick and break it? I've read all those books. But anger the person has some intention, so that when it is addressed by other ways, which actually uses the unconscious mind to come up with the options, that works fabulously. I saw some questions being posted here. I'm not able. Welcome. I saw a couple of postings that I couldn't answer. There was one on that NLP something somebody had asked. And I see the chat there. Yeah. 1 minute. Yeah.
There is a question that's is hypnosis related to NLP?
Before you go to that, just 1 minute. Some people say NLP is modeling. What is your opinion? It is not my opinion. NLP is used for modeling. So it is not an opinion. It is a fact. Hypnosis related to NLP, yes, it is one of the offshoots of NLP. Of hypnosis, because it is based on Milton Erickson's Ericksonian hypnosis also. So a lot of, in our master program, we teach a lot about how to use hypnosis as a part of the NLP processes. Is it helpful in anxiety disorders if the person is already on medications? Can we make them reduce the dose or withdraw it? Now, this is a question I wouldn't answer straight away, because unless and until the person is, and it's a very individualistic situation, we can help them reduce it. But I will not say that we can help them withdraw, because there are many factors that could be there. So I would actually look at the individual and then take it forward. NLP in sales, how is ethics in that scenario? One of the important things that we do in rapport building is we ask people to take an oath that they will not use rapport building skills for unethical interactions and unethical objectives, because rapport building is very powerful, and people can use it to take advantage of others. So one of the steps we take is to make sure that it is ethical. Yes, Lynn, you were about to ask a question.
No, ma'am, I was reading out the question that came.
Okay, which is the question I missed?
No, ma'am, you went to it after that.
Okay.
Hypnosis.
Okay. Very good.
So that was an excellent session on NLP, ma'am, and it's always pleasure listening to you.
Thank you.
And now it's my duty to place vote of thanks on behalf of the American College Madurai Department of Psychology and all the core team members, and also our associates, the Madras School of Social Work, MS Chelamuttu Rehabilitation Center and Trust, and also Psycho-Oncological Association Turkey, Wellbeing Center Chennai, and also Schizophrenia Research Foundation SCARF Chennai, and other associates. I take this opportunity to place our sincere gratitude for accepting our request and doing session for our mental health webinar series 2020. Thank you so much, ma'am, and thanks for all the participants for traveling with us this far and making this series a grand success. Without your support, we wouldn't have come this far. Thank you so much, and thank you once again, Sumati ma'am. Always pleasure listening to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Veena, for all the kind words. Thank you for all the kind words, Veena. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening, attending, and asking questions. And I'm very happy I could share this in this forum. And I end up everyone can live in an easy way, naturally and easy. Thank you.
Thanks for accepting my invite, Sumati. It was an honor.
Thank you
so very much.
Thank you, Krishnan. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation, ma'am. I learned a lot today. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.